On September 16th, 2023, Jessie Lee Ward, a Prüvit distributor better known as Boss Lee, passed away. She lost her short battle against stage 4 colon cancer. A lot of content creators have covered her in the past, her unethical business practices of recruiting people into Prüvit and also of selling her classes, of selling her MLM courses. But they have also covered her journey and her cancer story, where she spread a lot of damaging misinformation, if taken seriously, by the impressionable people either in her downline or by people who follow her on social media. I will not be covering her health journey in this case. If you're interested in these topics and you want more background information, I will link videos down below from 2 content creators I did like to watch on this topic. One is Kia's World. She covered a lot of Jessie Lee Ward content, as well as Mac Attack, who had a live where he also talked about this topic. I will link their channels and I will link the videos down below if you want to educate yourself independently on this video, because her health and her health journey, they will not be a part of this video. Jessie Lee Ward promoted herself as the #1 network marketer in the world, which she is not. She has not shown up in any of the top 10 lists I personally have seen, from network marketing classes, people shouting out the most successful people in network marketing, but she was able to promote herself in such a way, and she was able to benefit and to profit of the people that she recruited, and also the classes that she sold to other people. She had quite the portfolio in the MLM world. She had been in various MLMs, and the last one she was at, that was Prüvit, an MLM that sells ketones. She was a very loud and a very prominent figure in the world of network marketing, and also in her last MLM in Prüvit, and that led me to ask myself, what happens now that she has passed away? What happens now in those circles where she was such an influential person, now that she's gone and that she's leaving this empty space? If you're not interested in videos about Jessie Lee Ward and the aftermath of her passing, then I would encourage you to skip this video. That doesn't mean, though, that I will not be covering her when I deem it appropriate. I am not a fan of romanticizing people or their actions when they were alive just because they passed away. So heads up, this is a critical video. This is an anti-MLM video. And if you're not up for this, then do not watch this video. I covered Jessie Lee Ward in 2 of my videos before as well. One that was connected to her spreading misinformation about her cancer, and the other one was about recruitment tactics in Prüvit. I did not cover Jessie Lee Ward right after her passing out of respect for the people that mourned her, the family members. I'm not talking about the cult members that are connected to her, but her actual family and friends, the people that knew her in her personal life, to not for them stumble across a video like this, even on accident, because at least I think if I were in a situation like this and I were mourning a person privately, I wouldn't want to be steamrolled by videos like this, and I wouldn't want to watch these. Now, that is my personal opinion on this. At least that is what I think I would have appreciated if I were in a situation like this. But that does not deter me from making videos about Jessie Lee Ward and about being critical about her even after her passing. Like I said, just because somebody passes away, that doesn't equal out all of the wrongdoings and the misinformation they spread while they were alive. This was really the most empathy, I guess, I could show towards people who were connected to her and who really liked her as a human being. After her passing, I asked myself, like I said, what will happen now that she is not in the network marketing industry anymore? In my opinion, network marketing, multi-level marketing companies, they're cults. They are modern day financial cults that very much operate like classical religious cults that might come to mind when you think about cults like the People's Temple from the 1950s or the Children of God or Scientology. MLMs resemble those classical cults in a lot of ways, and MLM leaders also resemble cult leaders in a lot of ways. According to Josh Hart, a professor of psychology at Union College, a cult provides meaning, purpose, and belonging. They offer a clear, confident vision and assert the superiority of the group. As to the leaders themselves, they typically present themselves as infallible, confident, and grandiose. Their charisma draws people in, Hart says, and followers who are craving peace, belonging, and security might gain a sense of those things as well as confidence through participation in the group. Stephen Hassan, one of the leading cult experts of the United States, also says that nobody decides to join a cult. Nobody joins a cult voluntarily, they're recruited into it. And he speaks about the vulnerabilities of the 21st century that can contribute to someone ending up in a cult. There are even recent 21st century contributors: COVID-19, pandemic, severe economic disruption, isolation, lack of touch, social distancing, social political polarization, increased time online, internet addiction, recruitment into extreme conspiracy theories and cults and scams. If in a vulnerable state, you might fall for one of the many recruitment strategies. Some take place in person, where you may meet someone at work through a friend or from a community, or you might find yourself recruited online from social media posts, websites, YouTube videos, discussion forums, dating apps, movies, or video games. And if we take a closer look at Dr. Stephen Hassan's BITE model of totalitarian control, we do see more factors like behavioral control, informational control, thought control, and emotional control that convince me that MLMs are modern-day financial cults. Everything will be linked down below if you want to take a look at some of the individual factors that he mentions here in the BITE model, but they are very typical for what we see in modern-day multi-level marketing companies. And what happens if Jessie Lee Ward, somebody I would describe as a cult leader in a cult environment like multi-level marketing companies, passes and she leaves that void? And I don't mean on a personal level with her family and her friends and her real day-to-day life, but I mean in the industry, in her MLM, in Prüvit, and also in her team, the people she recruited into Prüvit that admire her. If a cult leader dies, sometimes the cult can dissolve without a leader. Sometimes, like in Scientology, for example, it can live on with a new leader, or sometimes, as in the case of Synanon, followers start their own clone group with the teachings they have learned. In the MLM industry, after Jessie Lee Ward's passing was announced by Eric Worre, there was an outpour of sadness and of grief and of acknowledging her achievements, as I would say is expected when someone dies. But to me, most of these public posts seemed purposeful to keep the connection to a moneymaker and to a financial distributor and to a powerful team lead who was able to contribute to the stability or to the instability of the MLM industry, to a multi-level marketing company specifically, or to a specific team. I want to go through some public posts by people that were connected to Jessie Lee Ward, and this is by no means a complete overview of everything that happened during that time, and I can only base my opinion and my suspicions on the things that were posted publicly on social media, things that were stated publicly and not behind private doors, like Brian Underwood, for example, reminding Prüvit, the industry, and also Jessie Lee's team, how close he was to her because he visited her in the hospital, and how important it was for Jessie Lee Ward to continue on. I will not go through each and every single line of this post, so if you're interested in reading the entire thing, please pause it and read it for yourself. But he posted, "As I was sitting in the hospital with Jessie Lee, she reminded me of the very first day we met. She remembered I had shrimp and grits. It was her way of telling me how important that day was, how details mattered to her. It might seem like an odd memory to begin with, I don't know, but I think it's funny. She always had a way of finding humor in the everyday moments. I remembered her words vividly. Brian, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm just nervous, and I have so many ideas that I want to do. I just don't understand how someone could get the scan so wrong." These words were spoken the evening before she left us, and I can't seem to shake them. My journey with Jessie Lee was nothing short of amazing. I'm grateful for every moment we shared. I saw others intimidated by her light. I saw people that wanted to ostracize her because she exposed their mediocrity. I saw people who didn't quite grasp the depth of her spirit, but above all, I saw her grow. I watched her make mistakes, as we all do, but I also witnessed her incredible capacity for forgiveness. I saw her evolve into a better version of herself. I saw her persevere through tribulations, even as those she loved turned against her. I saw her love endure and win people over that didn't understand her. I saw her discipline to excellence and greatness become undeniable in the world. First and foremost, I see a former business partner of her connecting himself to a person that has died, expressing how close of a personal relationship they had, how much they admired the business strength and the vision this person had, and how important it is to continue. And then her former downline also expressed how important it is to continue Jessie Lee Ward's legacy too, and that they're stepping into their leadership now, just like Jessie Lee Ward had wanted them to. It wasn't supposed to be you. Out of all people, you were supposed to be here the longest. This is not fair, and I struggle to find the words. 10 pictures don't compare or will never be enough to honor who you are or what you meant to me. This hurts more than anything. You didn't just pour love into me, but everyone you met. You were the first person to ever truly believe in me, and you made me feel so damn seen it was unreal. You picked up that phone anytime I needed you. You never judged me. You put me in places I would have never been without you, on stages, in masterminds, and around people that you knew I needed to know. I know you're up there telling us that it's all according to plan, but I'm not okay living in a world without you. I mean, I'll have to be okay because I know what you'd want. You tell me I'm too smart to be sad and that I need to get up and go change the world. We got a lot of work to do and fill some pretty big shoes, but I know that the past 4 years have been designed for this moment. You prepared us to carry on your legacy, and I swear to you I will do everything I can to keep it going. I love you much more than you know, and I'm so sorry I didn't get to see your beautiful smile one more time. I will see you again one day. Someone else in her downline posted shortly after her death, when you lose someone you love, don't throw away who they helped you become. Use the magic they left inside of you to become who they knew you already were. I'll never give up. When I was in Cancun with Prüvit community this weekend, someone asked me, what action steps did Jessie Lee give you in the beginning to help you become great? I said it was never about the action steps she gave me. It was always about the belief. Even when I was the annoying, negative-minded person stuck in scarcity, she poured belief into me like I would be her next 6-figure income. Her belief in me was world-class, even when I didn't deserve it. I will keep showing up every day and continue to focus on impact and being the Jessie Lee in someone else's story. I believe in you. These are just a couple of examples of people who were connected to Jessie Lee Ward and Prüvit, either as part of the corporate team or as part of her downline. And in these posts, it seems like they're talking about Jessie Lee Ward, but in my opinion, they're actually talking about themselves and what impact Jessie Lee had made on them and what route they now want to go with Prüvit, with the team, with their leadership, trying to fill in that spot. And I would assume that there are legitimate concerns and worries happening in the background. And I do not want to take away from these people that they were actually grieving and that they are actually grieving and that some were also actually sad because they had to say farewell to a person they really liked, they were closely connected to, or at least associated with. But I would argue that at some point also reality kicks in and you might have certain worries, financial reasons, how you will perform without this person, without their leadership, without their team, without their classes. I would ask myself if there were certain worries that there might be a mass exodus of her team in Prüvit. At least that is what I assume could come to your mind if you're a part of the corporate team within Prüvit, the ketone MLM that she was in last. And like I said, these are all speculations from my end as far as I can tell from social media posts that were posted publicly. These are not private situations, but this is the visual and these are the posts that people did publicly, connecting themselves to Jessie Lee Ward, trying to show their appreciation, their connection, and also their future ideas when she passed away. Also keep in mind that people grieve differently. They grieve differently when it comes to the way they show appreciation for a person. They themselves grieve and also the timing. It's not a straightforward line. It can be completely different and subjective from individual to individual. But that was what struck my nerve. That was something that I realized when I saw a lot of those public posts. The anti-MLM community got a lot of criticism for covering Jessie Lee Ward in general, but specifically her health journey. A lot of content creators were covering that really closely, when she was diagnosed with cancer. A lot of the content creators were commenting on the dangerous medical misinformation she was spreading and that people believed in that. I also did one video where she was juicing, presenting this as the cure to potentially cancer, and people in the comment section on her live were eating that up like that was truthful. A lot of those content creators received a lot of backlash for covering her for the misinformation that she spread, also from the MLM community, but specifically from people in those MLMs who now, after her passing, either try to connect themselves stronger to Jessie Lee Ward, continuing her legacy, or people that were never publicly that connected to her now speak up, now after her passing try to connect themselves to her, and that is something that I find ironic. I do not think that covering somebody spreading misinformation on their social media, even when they're diagnosed with cancer, is dangerous. I think it is rather valuable, but in the culty MLM world, and also an influencer who has a lot of followers, lots of people can disagree with that and they don't like that, which is all good and which is all fair. But a lot of those people that were super critical about how dare you cover that poor woman's journey are people that now connect themselves to her after her passing and trying to, what I interpret as benefiting from her passing. Here are some examples from social media I pulled that were posted shortly after her passing from people who tried to connect themselves to her that publicly were not that connected to her before, to my knowledge, and they were trying to connect themselves, their posts and their social media, with Jessie Lee Ward's name, I would assume to further their very own agenda. That's why they tried to connect themselves to Jessie Lee Ward at the time. Here is someone who I believe is trying to push her agenda against the haters shortly after Jessie Lee Ward died. This is somebody who was in the multi-level marketing company Mylett, and she posted this. Her response to me about a hater making a video about us. I told her I felt honored to be in a video with her and don't know how haters have time to bring others down like that. It's a video, a top fails video from Chelsea from the channel Jessie Suarez, where she spoke in a top fails video about Jessie Lee Ward's course failing, which was a total disaster. It was a flop, where she charged people some $9 or $10 or $11 for, and she was not spreading a lot of valuable information. So this is actually valid criticism, in my opinion, from an anti-MLM creator covering a course that was really, really not that great, and a way to squeeze more money out of people in the industry. Jessie Lee Ward answered her after apparently this individual reached out to her after Chelsea's video. They have so much time. I love spending my time only on things that matter more. And then she also attached some screenshots where she says, I loved being coached by her. That is something, yet again, I don't quite understand. If you're mourning a business partner or an industry partner's death, it always has to come back to one topic when it comes to multi-level marketing companies, in my opinion, and that is the fight against the haters. The people that have valid criticism, because multi-level marketing companies, like I said, in my opinion, are modern day cults based on financially exploiting others. So that's a way for somebody who's publicly not really connected to Jessie Lee Ward to connect herself to her, to fuel her agenda against the haters, and also to push her social media potentially at that point by connecting herself to Jessie Lee. Then somebody else who is also in multi-level marketing, if you follow anti-MLM content, you know this individual as well, who is also pretty much connecting herself on her stories to Jessie Lee Ward. But in the end, what she's doing is fueling her agenda against critics and against the haters yet again.
Today is a hard one for the industry. It's crazy to think that a woman who didn't personally know everybody will have such a deep impact. The fact that there are probably millions of people crying today is the gift that this woman had, and it shows the heart that she had. I know for me, not only did she help selflessly lead a call that my team won with her, but we had many conversations about network marketing haters and pushing through it, and your super fans, she would call them, and getting through those times, and all of it. She helped me through a dark season. And I know I'm just one of thousands of other people she's helped through really deep stuff, which is crazy. So today I just take today for her and thank the Lord that He let me be a tiniest ever little tiny piece in her story, in my story, that she's a piece in my story, and that I got to have a little tiny smidge of moments with her. And my prayers are for her family and her best friends and her close friends and her man. She found love, and so I think a lot of network marketers are just going to be just in reflection today. One thing I can say, because social media, you guys, can be such an armpit. It can be just so gross. And the one thing I'm so thankful for, two things, you guys. I'm so thankful for social media because not only did she impact millions of people, but her videos, her reels, her YouTubes, her everything will continue to impact millions of people. And her biggest passion was you being bold in network marketing and going for it, and just blocking and ignoring your haters and your super fans and going for it, and going and changing people for the better, and serving people and leaving them better, and changing your family's life and creating a legacy and building a legacy, which clearly she did. And it just ignites me even more to be more bold and loud.
So here is somebody on their story posting about the appreciation they had for her, but are also yet again connecting this to their business, to speak out against the haters, in my opinion, to elevate herself within the industry, and also to push back against those that she doesn't want to be critiqued by. I find that personally odd. If you mourn a person, then you wouldn't connect that to your business, and then you wouldn't connect that to your fight against haters. That is my subjective view. I would not do that. I understand that other people are different, but all those posts on the surface level, they seem to be about Jessie Lee, but in the end, they're not. They're to push a very specific, subjective agenda. Another example is from another rep who is in Mylett, who was on her social media pushing what I would say her religious agenda. She is considered the Mylett witch, or she was. She labeled herself like this. She was very much included in the hustle babe culture, and now she turned super Christian, questioning Jessie Lee Ward's religion, whether she really believed in God. And a lot of the things that she says here, it's a longer video, are not false. I don't disagree that hustle culture is bad, and what do we actually work for? Our lives could be over tomorrow, so it is important to take time out of your day and to really consider the people that are close to you. In this case, she's talking about her daughter, but also in general about people that are in your life. I'm not opposed to that, but why connect that to someone's passing when you want to show appreciation for that person and for that person's achievements?
Okay. I just put you down to go to bed, and I just cried the entire time because we all just assume that we have tomorrow. And I mean this very literally. We all assume that we have tomorrow. We all assume we're going to see Christmas. You assume that. I assume that. And I knew that Jessie Lee was going to die. I have some thoughts I want to share with you. Hopefully I can gather them. If you don't know who Jessie Lee she was the #1 network marketer in the entire world. She made $500,000 a month or something like that. So about a year ago, I was listening to her podcast pretty regularly, and I was working so much. I don't want these stories to be too long, but I feel like I have a lot to tell you. So I was working nonstop. I was like growing my team and like signing one VIP every single day and at the top of the leaderboards. And I was listening to Jessie Lee and I was listening to Andy Frisella, and I could just feel that my heart rate and like my, I could feel this intensity. And I heard God speak very clearly, because Jessie Lee used to talk about how much money she made and, you know, and everything she owned and all these cars that she owned and all this like traveling all the time and everything. And God like spoke very clearly to me and said, like, what's the point of making $500,000 a month if you're not serving me? And I unfollowed her show. I mean, no ill feelings. I love her so much, but I couldn't listen anymore. I don't know why the captions won't load. I feel like my like heart hurts so bad because she talked about God, but she never mentioned like whether she was actually like a Christian. And I just want you to know, you can believe in God all day long, but if you have not given your life over to God, over to Jesus Christ, like if you have not truly claimed your salvation, no matter how much you believe in God or the Spirit or the universe or whatever, you are not going to heaven. And I feel kind of ridiculous saying this because I've never said anything like this before, but Jessie Lee's death has just made this so real to me that it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter what impact you have or what good of a person you are, it does not matter if you're not saved. When I was listening to the podcast like almost exactly a year ago, I just had a feeling in my body like God clearly gave me this feeling like this is not sustainable, like this way of living, this pace of living is not sustainable. This like go, make money, buy this stuff, go here, go there, buy this. Like, you can't live that way. Bodies are not designed to live that way. And so I like physically couldn't listen to her anymore after listening to her like every single day for a year or something. And then when I found out that she had cancer, I was just like devastated, and I again had that feeling from God in my body that she would die like pretty soon. And then last night I knew last night she was going to die. And I think it's so devastating because when you have like, we all have influence. I have influence over you because you're watching this right now. You have influence over your family and your friends and your neighbors and anyone that follows you. Like, every single one of us has influence. And like, what's the point of working our butts off and saving all this money and buying all this stuff, like, when we literally can't take it with us? Like, I don't know what you believe, but about like what happens when you die, but all of this stuff, you know, this jewelry and these clothes and my like youthful glow, my hair and my nails, like my tattoos, like none of this stuff comes with me when I die. And something that the pastor of Ocean Church, which I love and I share a lot on here, said that was like really impactful. I think it must have been last week's sermon, saying that the worst that happens if you're a Christian and you die, and let's just say heaven doesn't exist, hell doesn't exist, well, you lived a great life. But like, if you don't believe in Christ and you haven't given your life over, you're taking a huge gamble when you die that like you don't know where you're going. Like, it's a huge gamble. And I listened to Jessie Lee enough to know that, or shall I say, I listened to her a lot, but I don't know whether she was a Christian. And that's like really hurting my soul because she talked about God, like, but she didn't talk about whether or not she was a Christian. And so one of the reasons I'm coming on here so strong lately is because I want you to know where I stand. And I want you to know that there is no, I'm not taking a gamble at all. Last few months, I have taken a step back from like working every single day, all day. And I've been spending time with my baby and just like spending time with my body. And I'm so glad that I have. And like, Jessie Lee's death just goes to show that it doesn't matter how much you work and how much you accumulate if your life is just, you know, if it's not what you want it to be. And I'm not saying hers is not what she wanted it to be. And I'm so glad she found love at the end of her life. But I just found myself, I was like working myself into the ground. I was working so much and I felt so responsible to my team and to everyone else. And like, I had all these people who I felt like I owed showing up to. And it's like, but what do I owe myself and my baby and my God? Like, I owe myself to slow down. My baby just needed me, so I had to go be with her. But I think there's like two types of people in this world. There are people like myself, Jessie Lee, Andy Frisella, like people that naturally have this like drive to make a lot of money and get this stuff done and go and like do everything. And then there's people who are naturally like quite lazy. And so if you're naturally a quite lazy person, I'm not talking to you. If you are someone who's like really intense like me, you are always the best at everything you do, you want to go, you want to exercise, you want to do it all, I just want to tell you that the point of life is not to do it all and have it all. That's not the point of life. At the end of my life, I want to know that, I mean, y'all, and I'm a single mom, so like, no one's paying my bills except for me. No one's buying my food except for me. Like, no one is taking care of me and my baby besides me. And I want to know that I worked to have the things that we needed and wanted, but my days and my life wasn't defined by my work. And that's tricky because I am a super overachiever and I want to be the best and I want to do it all. But that's not living. So here's what I will say. When you truly follow God, you don't have to worry about having enough money. You don't have to worry about having enough food. You don't have to worry about that because He will take care of you. And one day I will tell you the whole story as to how I like truly came to find Jesus. That day is not today. But take delight in your work. This is my message to myself and maybe to you, but like, take delight in your work, but make sure that your life is one that you are supremely overjoyed and comforted by. Like, I put my baby down for every single nap. I put her to sleep every single night. I haven't missed a second of her life. And I wouldn't change that for any amount of money. If you were like, I'm going to give you $500,000 a month, but you have to work 20-hour days and you have to have a nanny and you have to have someone take care of your baby and feed your baby and nurse, give your baby a bottle or whatever, I would be like, no. Because the joy and love that I get to experience makes me want to cry. The joy and love that I get to experience with my baby, no amount of money will ever touch. And like, also I will say, I don't think Jessie Lee's like job killed her. We all have a day that we're going to die, period. And there's nothing we can do to stop that. Like, it's not going to come early and it's not going to come late. It's going to come right on time. And like, today was the day that she was meant to die. And that's just God. But I know for certain I'm going to spend every single day as if it's the last day of my life. She made an incredible impact on so many of us. The network marketing industry was changed by her. And I'm so thankful for that lesson I got a year ago to slow down and that I listened. And I'm so glad I am where I am now. And truly, y'all, your health, your body is wealth. Like your organic food, right? Your local food, your clean water, your clean air, like living outside of the city. Like, this is my view. This is where I live, in the middle of nowhere. And this is wealth to me. So anyway, I love y'all. Hope you have a good night.
Ed Mylett, a self-help guru, made an entire podcast episode about his friend passing, but all he did was talk about himself. I'm not going to react to the entire podcast. I will link a video from Kia's World down below where she covers that very well and very much in depth. And it is really, really gross to see how somebody who gets paid by Jessie Lee Ward likely steps in to fill into kind of a father figure that she seems to be missing, or that she seemed to have been missing in her everyday life. How do you connect your grief with somebody you knew via Zoom, somebody who paid you a good chunk of money for your training, somebody who recruited you into a business, somebody who worked for you in the company that you run, somebody who was also in multi-level marketing, who has heard from you, who has known you digitally, very likely not in person? How do you manage to go on your social media, express grief, but then turn everything back around to fuel your own agenda? That is something that is beyond me. And that's also why I find it highly ironic and highly hypocritical that a lot of people have critiqued a lot of people in the anti-MLM community making videos about Jessie Lee Ward, who have been able to express what I would say way more honest appreciation of Jessie Lee Ward, despite all of her flaws, despite all of her faults, giving people space to grieve and not connecting that to themselves, to their own agenda, and to fueling their own businesses. Luckily, we did not see her family and her real-life friends. I hope that she did have some of those grieve her passing. Luckily, we did not see her family grieve. Luckily, they kept that offline, and they also seem to be pushing against people who were in the cult, who were in Prüvit, who wanted to participate and insert themselves into private family matters. Luckily, we did not see these people, and I would argue it is the case because there is an actual relationship, as flawed and as difficult as it might be, as it typically is in families, These were people that were grieving privately, a person they loved and a person that is missing now in their lives as well, and they have to come to a close. And from what I understand, a lot of people had a rather difficult relationship with her because Jessie Lee Ward was a difficult and a very complex individual. But these people were able to mourn her loss privately. They didn't have to air that out publicly while connecting a specific agenda to that. But I guess that is because they had a real relationship with her, as difficult and as flawed as it might have been. And it was likely not conditional. It was likely not connected to selling ketones, to keep Prüvit afloat, to keep team members on her team while trying to rank up in a time where an MLM leader left a void in a multi-level marketing company because they passed away, or not trying to connect their coaching business to that person. MLMs are businesses, and MLM connections, for the most part, are business connections and business relationships. They use cult-like tactics to recruit people into that financial system and also to try to keep them in the system longer, to profit off of them longer. And I think the BITE model shows that beautifully. If you go through the individual steps, if you have time to do that, I do see and I do find a lot of the things I see online, I see on social media connected to multi-level marketing companies a lot. I think that a lot of the connections we have seen on social media, people connecting themselves to Jessie Lee Ward, they are transactional. And I think we were able to see this with Jessie Lee Ward as well. It didn't seem like she had a lot of genuine connections, but they were mostly connected to her MLM or to her coaching business, trying to profit off of people. And I would argue that in this case, if you sign up for a business like this, if you have such an impact like this, that your legacy will very likely continue and the transactional relationships will continue even after your passing. And I do believe that a lot of her relations and relationships were transactional as well, based on the things she herself and also her team has posted, and based on the information people have given that were on her team and that left. Now, how does an industry continue? I would say that the overall industry is honestly not that affected and it's not that impacted by her passing. They've already continued, they've already moved on. And what about Prüvit? I would argue that Prüvit very likely will try to connect themselves to Jessie Lee Ward if they see that a lot of people from her team are leaving. Maybe they're coming out with a Jessie Lee Award or a ketone bundle or something, recruitment team calls in the name of Jessie Lee Ward, honoring her, trying to keep the people on her team and the company longer. And the people that were a part of her downline, I also see them post regularly, trying to entice people to join their team, to buy products from them, to keep people on their team, continuing the MLM route in her name, where they claim that they will continue the success route in her name and they will continue her successful teachings. And I would argue we will have to see what happens in the long run. As I said before, sometimes a cult will dissolve without a leader. I do not think that that is something that will happen here. There will always be scams. There will always be multi-level marketing companies or multi-level marketing, network marketing adjacent companies, and that won't stop just because one of those people is not with us any longer. But I do think it will have a huge impact on Prüvit and also on her specific team. I do not think that the MLM business or Prüvit will dissolve. They will exist as scams will always exist. They might undergo an evolution or a sped up evolution as well, but they will never stop to exist. I do think that new leaders will try to fill in the spot that Jessie Lee Ward has left in her specific MLM, the void she has left there, and they will in a way start their own clone group, and I think they have already done that over the past couple of months. This was a surface look at the topic spiked out of current events, something that I have observed on social media, on posts that were posted publicly. I'm not in these people's lives. I'm not in their minds. I'm not a part of their private conversations that they're having offline. But this is kind of the conclusion I have, judging from what I see, what other people are comfortable to post publicly. I do think if you join a multi-level marketing company and if you rise in the ranks and if you become a leader, and if you position yourself as such, you do not have a lot of truthful and honest relationships, and I think it also shows after her passing. I do hope that the people who grieve her loss and who are truly shattered by this and who have to go through the grieving process, that they do have the time to do so. I truly do. I'm not very fond of Jessie Lee Ward, and like I said, that hasn't changed just because she is not with us anymore, but that doesn't mean that I don't wish the very, very best for the people that truly grieve her and that were truly personally and emotionally affected by her loss. I will keep an eye out for this topic, and I find it rather interesting venturing into cults and into cult leaders maybe potentially in the future, but I would be interested what you think or what your impression was, what people posted about her, these specific posts, or maybe other things that you have seen after Jessie Lee Ward died. I will link all of the sources I spoke about down below, and also the videos I spoke from Kia's World and from Mac Attack if you want to do your own research, and if you want to start your own research on this topic, I would strongly encourage you to do that. If you're interested in these types of topics, then I would love it if you would consider subscribing. If you appreciated or liked this specific video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to comment something about this topic, please feel free to do so in the comment section down below, but keep it classy. I do not condone people calling other people names. I'm aware that this is a topic where the emotions are really up there and where lots of people are very, very heated, but that doesn't mean that we cannot have a normal conversation and a respectful conversation about this topic. If you like these types of videos, then hopefully I will see you in my next one. Until then, cheers!